As other senators have done this afternoon, my questions will also be on the seal harvest. Currently, Canada does not have a seal harvest on the West Coast. In the House of Commons Standing Committee on Fisheries and Oceans, in their report entitled Ecosystem Impacts and Management of the Pinniped Populations, they list the risks of not reducing pinniped populations to the possible loss of salmon stocks, the collapse of the sports fishing industry, and the collapse of the remaining commercial fishery on the West Coast. There have been informal calls to establish a West Coast harvest for seals. Has DFO, under their new emerging fishery policy, received any official proposals to establish a West Coast harvest? And would DFO ever consider establishing a West Coast harvest without a submitted proposal, perhaps as a pilot program?
Senator Gold.
Well, thank you for your question. I'm not aware of any such initiatives. I would say, though, more generally, colleagues, that the federal government is very mindful of the complex interaction in this area, whether it's of the seal population and on fish stocks, and the impact of the seal industry on communities and individual Canadians. Very aware of the illustrious history of the seal market. So when we go back earlier in our history, I remember being fascinated and informed in a visit to Newfoundland in that regard. Having said all of that, the government will continue to engage with stakeholders, Indigenous communities, and provincial and territorial governments to make sure that any decision it takes is the prudent, balanced, and fair one.
Senator Cordy.
Thank you. And I will focus my supplementary question on the east coast of Canada. And indeed, you're absolutely correct. It is a complex interaction, and we know the influence of the seal market on many communities in Canada. Has DFO taken any steps to increase the harvest of seals on the East Coast? Fishers have been calling for DFO action for years to help increase the seal harvest, as they have warned the sustainability of fish stocks are at jeopardy because of the amount of fish they eat and having a negative impact on the fishers' livelihood. In the same House, they note that 4,482 licenses were issued in 2022, and
Senator Gold, thank you.
Well, thank you again for the question. I think I would encourage senators to pose these questions to the minister when she appears before a question period, and she'll be in far better position than I am to have more up-to-date information on their thinking in this regard.